Where's the mic? Testing. Can you give a scream into this? Ah! Said a scream, not a moan. Alright, looks like it's working. Camera's set. Beautiful little setup. I think we're ready to rock and roll, to be honest.
Yep.
Got any questions?
Just gonna get a little bit. We're doing an interview. I'm now world famous, being interviewed by a world-renowned paint artist.
Zero sales.
Yeah.
Got my Bakari. Right, so pretty much 10 questions.
Yeah.
Easy done. I'll start by sitting down where you are, just to give a little intro.
You can sit next to me.
Oh, I've never done that before. This is new. Alright.
Pillows are gonna be a bit annoying.
Well, it's just for the intro. And then I'll go behind here.
Okay. I'm gonna be all on my own.
Yeah. Are you scared?
A little bit.
You get anxiety.
I don't know what you're gonna ask me. You haven't prepped me.
There's no prep.
All off the dome.
Off the dome. Right, ready? G'day, legends. Welcome back to Mikey Talk. Today we have episode 37. It's another really exciting guest interview. This next guest we met a year ago, pretty much to today. And you know the life advice that people give you where you should spend your time, the 5 closest people to you that you spend your time with should be of high value. This man is one of the men that I would put in those 5 people. When we're together, I'm super productive. This last week we've been living together and I've got more done and made more progress on my life than I did in the last probably 12 months. So yeah, he's got a vast skill set in sales, operations, emerging tech, everything exciting, got a very good entrepreneurial brain. So I'm excited to tell his story. Please welcome Joe.
Thanks, Mikey.
Welcome, Joe.
Pleasure to be here.
1 year since we met.
1 year. 1 year since we were blessed to meet in Queenstown in New Zealand. We actually met before, but it was Queenstown, wasn't it?
It was Queenstown,
Yeah.
just before it kicked off.
Yeah.
Yep, and you saw my ass every morning.
Yes. Yes, I was blessed with Mikey's ass every morning that I woke up in New Zealand.
One lucky man. All right, let's kick it off. So I've got 10 questions. And the first question is kind of around that. So yeah, like I said, 1 year ago since we first met in New Zealand.
First question is around your ass.
Yes. No, how did you end up at that retreat in New Zealand? What led you to that?
Wow. That is, I can answer that the short way or the full way.
We'll go the full way.
The full way. Okay, so we met in New Zealand at what was called a residency. So a residency is this kind of retreat that's hosted by a community called Art of Mondays. So it's a private club, private community for entrepreneurs. And at the time, I was working on the team for that company, and Mikey had recently become a member. But what actually led to getting there was a whole nother story in itself. So I'm going to have to take you back to really my 20s or mid to early 20s, where I was working in London. I was in corporate, so I worked in finance, real estate, and then before I left, a financial technology company. And I'd got really into self-development during those sort of early 20 years. And I started to think about what is the life that I want to create for myself. And over time, I realized that the things I wanted out of life just weren't going to be attainable through the path that I was on. So working these corporate jobs, although from the outside it looked great and there were these brilliant accolades for someone like me who isn't university educated and had kind of, let's say, brute forced his way through his career, I just didn't feel like I was in the right place. And I had this really good friend of mine, a guy called Joel, who I grew up with down in Cornwall in the southwest of England. This is a slight tangent. He's a bit of a crazy guy. He was on this trip to South America where he had basically been doing research on this historian. And he was going into these libraries in Cornwall to find information about him. It was originally a Cornish guy. And and he found this kind of block of history where this guy's story was missing, just wasn't there. And Joel, being the crazy guy that he is, he decided to fly to South America because he found this little breadcrumb trail suggesting that this guy that he was researching had gone there. So he goes to South America, he's there for 6 months, teaches himself Spanish, goes into these archives in Chile to find old letters from this guy he was researching. Bear in mind, this guy was alive in the early 1800s, so it's like a crazy adventure. Anyway, that was a little tangent there. Basically, he comes back to England after his trip and he stays with me in London. And one night we're talking about life and fulfillment and happiness and all of these things. And by the end of the conversation, we decided I was going to flip a coin. And that coin flip was going to determine whether I stayed in London working in corporate, whether I quit my job and just found another path in life. And the next day I ended up going into work, pulling my manager aside and telling him that I quit. So that's kind of how this journey started, how I actually got to New Zealand. Basically, after I left work, I just started traveling. So I did 3 months in Europe and I decided I wanted to move to Australia. So I flew over to Perth, Western Australia, where I was going to start my travels. And I ended up meeting the founder of Art of Mondays, this guy called Jai Howitt. So I actually knew him already through YouTube. He had been posting content about his life, about particularly Art of Mondays and how it was going, building the business from the ground up. And I just reached out to him one day. I was like, hey, dude, like I'm in Perth. I've been following your journey. I love what you're doing. I think I could help you build the business. So that's how the relationship with Art of Mondays started. And it was about 3-4 months after that New Zealand happened and that retreat happened in New Zealand.
That's a wild ride. That's a coin flip.
Yes. Yeah, everything goes back to that coin flip one way or another.
Did you know when you flipped the coin? I'm also just going to open the curtain to let some light in. Did you know when you flipped the coin that it was going to land on what it did?
So there is some nuance to the coin flip. We actually decided that heads, I quit my job. Tails, I also quit my job. But if the coin just happens to stand up on its side, then I have to stay in my job for the rest of my life. Yeah. We did flip the coin though.
That's the story. Fuck it out. Well, now you're living in Bali, at least for this period right now, and you've been here before. What makes you keep coming back here in particular?
Yeah, Bali is somewhere that I never expected to spend much time in. I actually came here briefly before New Zealand for 6 days as part of my layover just to see what it was all about. And I fell in love with how health conscious people are here, like how accessible it is to go to good gyms, get healthy food. All of the restaurants are serving really health orientated meals, which to me was quite unique. I think Bali has this very special energy where it pulls in a lot of health conscious, but also very entrepreneurial people from a lot of extremely diverse backgrounds. So you get a lot of new perspectives. You get to socialize with a lot of really fascinating people and live a very healthy lifestyle, which is something that I strive to do and have strived to do for many years. So I realized in those 6 days that Bali was actually somewhere that was very uniquely fits the kind of lifestyle that I love to live, and would be a place where I could surround myself with the kind of people that I like to have in my circle. So I came back last year for about 3 to 4 months in total. Actually tried out all of Bali. So I did Uluwatu, which is where we are now, Canggu, which is a bit busier, Ubud, which is much more spiritual, a bit more in the jungle, and also went over to Lombok, one of the neighboring islands, and did a month there in this big entrepreneurial house that I hosted with 14 other founders. And I just, off the back of that, realized Uluwatu was the place I loved the best, and that's why I came back. Also, specifically, why am I here for so long this year? Because a bit of context for everyone, the last sort of 18 months have been pretty high frequency travel, probably around 18, 19 countries visited, and some of them, or most of them, were just for 1 to 2 weeks, so a lot of movement happening. After that much travel, I needed some stability. So the place we're in now, I booked for 3 months just so I could set the year or start the year with the intention of stability, of laying foundations, and focusing on routine and the things that are going to allow me to consistently grow and build within business, relationships, and things like that.
Interesting. So then, like, back to being in an environment or a space with a lot of entrepreneurial people or people with the same mindset, and then kind of thinking about New Zealand in particular, why do you think you can build such intense and strong relationships so quick when it's in an environment like that?
Yeah, New Zealand was a very special place. So these residencies, I've been to 4 of them now, and New Zealand was one that is just unmatched in how close everyone became in such a short period of time. I mean, it happens at every residency, but there was something special about New Zealand where the mix of people, the mix of characters, the environment, the facilitation that was happening just created this very, very quick connection between everyone. And I can attribute a lot of that to one of the facilitators, incredibly experienced professional called Matthew Defina. So he is an Australian chap from Melbourne and has been to and hosted over 40 retreats, has done a lot of leadership transformational work. So worked with a lot of leaders in the corporate space, but now focus more with entrepreneurs. And he has this just incredible ability to curate experiences and manage groups in a way that just expedites and reduces the speed to connection to a matter of hours. And I actually felt that on the first residency that I went to, which was in Noosa in Australia. Literally day one of that experience, this one was actually 10 guys there, but after day one of that experience, we literally had 10 brothers. These are people that I've known now for over a year, and many of them I'm talking to regularly. One of them came out to stay here with me in Bali as well. We hadn't seen each other for over a year, and he came, we stayed with each other for a couple of weeks. And it's, so basically going back to your question, I think it's real expert facilitation plays a huge part. And then the characters, the people that are there, the fact that it's part of a community that has vetted people. So the people there we know have shared values, shared interests. So that also speeds up that connection. And if we were to go into detail in terms of what actually creates connection, I think that can be quite interesting. There's a few different elements of it. So there's the depth. And what I mean by that is depth of emotion. So one part of the facilitation work Matt does is giving us space to share deep topics. And that speeds up connection very quickly because this relatability and humanizing happens, where when we don't know someone very well, we have a lot of assumptions about them. And all of a sudden, they've shared this part of themselves, which makes them a human being just like us and someone we can empathize with and understand. That's one component of it. I think physical closeness is important too. So not necessarily intimacy, I don't mean it in that sense, but more the ability to express ourselves physically, whether it be through dance, movement, exercise. All of these things can have an effect on how much we trust and connect with someone. And then a third component, which I think is really important, and you see this happening in many different environments, is shared challenge. So hardship, going through hardship together. And Matt is very good at creating environments where we do all of these things, and he'll do it over a matter of hours, and the end result is that deep connection. An example of a session that he might run, he could lean on, say, like acting activities. So there's an activity where we'll stand in a circle and someone has to jump in and just act out a scene. Now, for a lot of people who are meeting these 13 other founders for the first time, that's really intimidating. But when encouraged and when other people step up and jump in and get involved, eventually everyone starts to kind of cross that barrier. And then when you reflect on the experience and realize everyone was feeling the same thing, it just strengthens that connection. So that was a very long answer to your question, but I think it's nice to give a comprehensive understanding of how that depth of connection is created so quickly.
Yeah, and Matt is a weapon, so he deserves his props as well.
yeah, Matt is spectacular. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah. You were first diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 21. How did that moment change your direction in life?
Yeah. So, um, for those watching that don't know what Crohn's disease is, it's an autoimmune condition which basically affects the gastrointestinal tract. And a good way to explain it is basically my immune system attacks healthy cell tissue in my body. So it creates inflammation, which over a long period can cause damage and then health consequences. And unfortunately, when I was 21, I had been going through a very stressful period. I was in a relationship that my partner at the time and I didn't really know how to manage, and it became very stressful for us. And that over time materialized into ill health for me. So my body just started really just presenting that stress through illness. And over time, that resulted in this diagnosis of Crohn's, which is a chronic condition, so it can't be healed, at least not with current medicine. Hopefully, in the future, conditions like this will be able to be resolved. But it definitely changed the entire trajectory of my life. In a weird way, I was very fortunate that COVID happened actually, because that caused lockdowns in the UK, which meant I was able to leave London where I was living and working at the time and go home to my parents in Cornwall. And when I went back home, my body just gave out. Like I was bedbound for about 3 months and very, very low on energy. Couldn't really consume or digest much food. Ended up losing a lot of weight, and really just got to a point where I was scared because I didn't know if my life was ever going to be normal again. I didn't see a way out of where I was at that point in time. And fortunately, just with the support of the people around me at the time, family, this partner who was still with me at the time, she was actually very supportive during that time with diet and health and everything. We just managed to rebuild, and it was like this journey of just like simplifying everything. I was like drinking celery juice and eating plain like baked, not even baked. I think we boiled the chicken so that it was like as soft as possible in the gut and my body could start to absorb food. And just rebuilt from there. Probably took a good like 4 years to get to a place where I felt like normal again. But it's a constant challenge in the sense that if it goes unchecked, unmanaged, the condition can cause a lot of fatigue, weight loss, and brain fog, make it very difficult to kind of operate day-to-day life. So a few things that I do: I have medication that I carry around with me all around the world. I have this like big esky for the Australians, or like cool box for the English amongst the listeners, that I just carry medication with everywhere. And I'm just really conscious about diet, health, all of these things. And I'm very fortunate. Unlike some, I've managed to control this and stay on top of it. But a lot of people with the condition aren't as lucky as I am, and ultimately don't get to live as full lives as I've managed to live these last few years. But going back to your question, it's had a huge impact on honestly every aspect of my life. There's been that health component, there's been the psychological components to work through, but you know, we make it work. We still carry on. I think something that was kind of inspiring for me, and I think this is becoming more well known, but Mr. Beast, obviously very successful YouTuber, everyone knows that, but he actually also has Crohn's disease, and he described it quite well in a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, where he said Crohn's disease is basically like living life on hard mode. Like everything's just that little bit harder.
So knowing that, what's something that you would want someone else to know that is at a young age, maybe around that same 21, about it, about what's to come that you didn't know at the time?
Yeah. So one of the big challenges for me when I was first diagnosed was just complete denial. Like, this was the first real health challenge that I had had in life. And I, for the longest time, did not accept that I was actually unwell and I had a condition that wasn't going to go away. There was part of me that just thought if I ignore it, I'll wake up one day and everything will be fine. Like, it's just like a cold and, I'll get better. And that caused a lot of delays in terms of taking and using the medical system the way that I probably should have. I would say I probably started really implementing the medical advice that was given to me by professionals about a year after I was actually advised to do certain things and take certain medication. So first and foremost, I think if you've been offered it and you're not on it already, start taking the medication. It can be scary for a lot of people at first. It's like, I remember reading about it, and there was this, like, 2 A4 pages about the potential side effects. And I was like, I'm just going to skip over this bit. I don't really want to know. That's one component. I also think through my journey, I mean, it's been 6, nearly 7 years now managing this. Diet is very, very important. And I think people underestimate how important diet is with a condition like Crohn's. And I also think, unfortunately, at least in the UK, the medical system, the gastroenterology specialists who get assigned to cases like this, don't seem to appreciate diet as much as it needs to be, because it's just not the way that they are trained to solve problems. But you do have to take that into your own hands. And there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, honestly, if I was starting again today, I'd just go to AI and ask it to teach me everything about diet and Crohn's disease. And then there's trial and error, just working out what your body reacts to, what it doesn't. But start thinking about that. And I would say the only other thing, which is probably going to be slightly controversial, is around mindset. And I think something that was big for me in the early days is that I was told to kind of go to these support groups and go and find other people that were struggling with the condition. And I very actively avoided that. And I think it was much more subconscious at the time, but upon reflection, I think it was this kind of understanding that if I were to put myself in an environment with a bunch of other people that were struggling, I would also most likely start to struggle too. That was my observation on it. So I actually completely rejected that and was like, I'm just going to go and find people that are like living good lives, that are healthy, that are fit, and I'm going to try my best to adjust and take on the habits of those people. And I think that was actually really big for me. And it's something that I've done in every aspect of my life, is become very, very conscious of the circle that I have, who I spend my time with, and the habits, behaviors they have, because naturally those things rub off on us. And we are, as everyone knows, the combination of the people we spend the most time with.
Back to Art of Mondays for a minute. So you were helping out at the time with sales and working with a lot of founders in the community. What did that teach you about what people need when they're trying to build something?
So maybe to dive into your question, when you say what people need when they're building something, what do you mean by that?
So entrepreneurs, people building businesses, they were drawn to the community for something, and you got to speak to probably more than the regular person would speak to in terms of like that type of person.
Gotcha.
Was there something in common that these people need or that they're looking for when they're trying to build a business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of consistencies that show up. So I would have done over a few hundred interviews with founders that were looking to become part of Art of Mondays. And there's a few veins that sort of were there in some capacity for almost everyone. So one of them was around having a circle of people like them. A lot of these entrepreneurs, a lot of these founders are like the black sheep, right? They followed the non-traditional path. They went down the route that most people weren't doing, because the majority of people are going to university, getting a job, and that's the path they follow. So what I found is that a lot of these founders and entrepreneurs, when they had become successful, they had sort of outgrown their social circle, and they couldn't really relate or connect with their friends the way that they perhaps needed to feel like they had community and support from the people around them. So that was a huge aspect, and I think that's probably one of the biggest points, or let's say in business terms, like pain points that people were looking to solve. Then the other elements were around, honestly, it all comes back to being around people and networking companionship. There is this term that your network is your net worth, and it's so unbelievably true. I've seen countless occasions where founders in the community will meet each other, and maybe they start working with each other directly. One person needs the other's service, and there's a value exchange. Or another example is where they had a couple of founders meet in Cape Town. One helped the other set up ads, and all of a sudden they're making thousands in revenue that they didn't have before. And that happens by a community bringing together like-minded people with similar interests and similar goals. And that's one other component to it. Then with Art of Monday specifically, people are very attracted to the opportunity to go on the residencies. They book these beautiful places around the world, and you sometimes wouldn't necessarily have access to these if you weren't going with a big group like Art of Mondays, just because of the fact that some of these places cost tens of thousands of dollars to book. So there's another aspect of it as well. But even that, it comes back to the social component, right? You get to be there with other founders with similar values and interests to you. So that's always what makes those experiences so magical as well anyway.
The digital nomad life you're living looks pretty epic from the outside. What's a part of it that nobody talks about that's not so sexy?
Yeah, so I touched on this earlier in terms of the challenges of the nomadic life. I, last year, was just traveling a lot, like seeing a lot, experiencing a lot, and I'm someone who actually really thrives with routine and stability, so that was very, very hard for me. But all to a good end, in that the goal for that year was to experience the world, see the world, and then decide where and what I loved about the world. And that's given me clarity this year and for the coming years of where I'm actually going to spend my time. And people seem quite surprised by this, but I don't ever see myself settling down in one place. I don't think that's necessary in this world. I don't think that's something that we really have to do anymore, particularly with a lot of work being online. So I've identified 4 to 5 places in the world that I would like to live between, and Bali is one of them. Although I haven't been there yet, Cape Town is almost definitely going to be one of them, because it's a hub for the early months of the year for a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of my friends spend time there and are there now. A little bit of FOMO. Australia is another. Portugal, Lisbon is another. I'm half Portuguese. I have a lot of family there. I love Lisbon. And then skiing in Japan is the final. So for me, I think the challenging parts of a nomadic lifestyle were definitely the just frequency of movement, lack of routine and stability. And then I think if I were to do it longer, I didn't really feel this so much because I was traveling with the community. So I had that consistency of friendships. But I think after a longer period of time, when people start to stop traveling, I would struggle with the inconsistency of relationships and not having a solid social circle.
What is it about Catan that gets us so addicted and easily playing till 4 a.m? As you'll see right now, the Catan board has been set up this whole time that we're here and has been absolutely abused. We had 4 a.m. sessions back in Melbourne. What is it about Catan?
I mean, Catan is just this special game that it allows you to mix your like strategic mind with I guess actually a better way to describe it, Catan is like one of the few games that is both fun and strategic. Like if we look at this on like a spectrum, you've got, I don't know, let's say your average card game is usually pretty luck based. It just depends on what gets drawn. Or Monopoly, for example, pretty much a luck game, depends what rolls you get. And then if we were to look at the other end of the spectrum, you've got chess, full like strategic game. I'd say Catan is maybe 60 to 70% towards strategy and like 40% luck just based on the roll of the dice. So I think for people like us that love the strategic thinking and the skill side of playing games can get really stuck into this. And because it has like negotiation component and you're trying to trade with people, and there's the competitive component as well, which means if one person makes a decision, it impacts the whole game. It brings out emotion. It creates this character in people where Mikey, for example, gets very, very upset when something doesn't go his way. I don't even know what character I go into. Mikey likes to describe it as the British charm, where
especially in negotiations, the British charm comes out so hard.
yeah, I think it brings out a side of people that's very unique to this game, and that's really fun. That's a really fun element of it.
I never thought about it like that, but it definitely does. And everyone has their own
character,
little character that does come out in the game of Catan, and usually it's not the healthiest version of themselves.
No, I think my character has developed over time though. Like as I've played the game more, I think I went from just the trader who would extort the person in the game who didn't really know what they were doing, and then got to the point where I was playing with more skilled players, and it's like, okay, I actually have to be a little bit more strategic around how I negotiate and broker deals.
Yeah, the British charm only really works with inexperienced players. It has its limit.
I don't know. There's a degree of like, if you have a hypothesis about what's happening in the game and you can really convince people of your hypothesis, even skilled players can be convinced.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it having a luck component as well, because there is no one outcome that's going to happen. Like, there could be the highest probability outcome, but the rolls of the dice are still going to play a role in that.
Yeah, it is the greatest game that's ever existed.
I would say hands down the greatest game that has ever existed.
Tell us about this 9-day AI sprint we're on at the moment. We're about 7, 8 days into it. What have you learned?
Oh man, I mean, Claude Code is like this is another just pivotal moment in evolution, let's say. There was an analogy someone used. I'm gonna butcher it, but I thought it was great. Like, they were describing the recent progress in AI comparable to our discovery of fire, right? Like, fire changed everything for mankind, right? It allowed us to ultimately build and construct the infrastructure that we have today in many ways, or at least it played a part in that. And AI is an equivalent, but probably times 100, right? And it's interesting. I speak to a lot of people about AI, and there's varying levels of understanding on how impactful this technology is actually going to be on society. And there's the naive who like, oh yeah, like I've heard about it, I don't really know what it's going to do. And then there's the other side, which is like, yeah, this is going to change life as we know it. And I think it already is, particularly recently with Claude Code, which we've been doing our sprint on. It's completely democratized the access to high-skilled work. And what I mean by that is, not even 3 years ago, not even a year ago, if you wanted to code and build a quality app or operate as a skilled software engineer, you would have to hire someone who had done years of study, many more years of practical coding, and pay them a very, very handsome amount of money to develop software for you, right? It was probably one of the highest skilled jobs, or most desired jobs in the sort of tech world that we live in. And now I just go to Claude and say, hey, can you build this for me? And it does it in 5 minutes, right? That's a bit of a simplification of how it works. There is still there is a varying degrees of human in the loop with these kind of builds. And what I mean by that is sometimes you need to correct it and iterate on its development. But how far we've come with AI's ability to build autonomously is incredible. I think humans really struggle to comprehend uh, the compounding impact of technological development. And what that means is that when technical development compounds, it doesn't just grow in this linear fashion, right? It it starts to create this hockey stick where inventions and new technology, new software starts to come out at an exponential rate. And essentially, what this means is, or what we're starting to see now, is these AI companies like Anthropic that built the Claude model, they're launching new features, new products every single day that would have taken months and months to build without AI. And if you really can grasp that and combine that with this exponential growth, you can at least start to get a bit of a picture on where we're going and how quickly we're going to get there. Now, I can give you sort of these hypotheses in terms of what I think is going to happen. And a few of those being robotics. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that within the next 5 years, having a humanoid-like robot around the house is going to be very, very common. And some people like to reject that, but it's an inevitability. It's going to be happening. As well as that, the world as we know it from a work perspective is going to completely change. So right now, labor, skilled labor in terms of knowledge work, so let's say accountancy, let's say software development like we've touched on already, let's say even something like sales, is already being replaced by AI models. I'm not talking about this is happening in the future. This is happening today. And these models are only going to get better, and they're going to get better faster than they have been, which means the landscape of work is just going to evolve very, very quickly. And I like to have a very optimistic view of what this is going to mean, where I think if high-skilled labor is accessible to all of us just through natural language, so just speaking to an AI model, the level of production and creation is going to increase at an unbelievable rate. So the products, services, development in society is just going to explode. And I think that's exciting because I think if done properly, we create a lot of abundance within society, and we take our time away from the more mundane, monotonous work that a lot of people still do, and we create time for leisure and fun and beauty and creativity, which many of us find a lot of joy and fulfillment in. So I think there's so many ways we could look at where we're going with AI and how it's going to play its role in the world. But yeah, I like to have the optimistic one. And going back to the 9-day sprint, so we started this, about a week ago today. And my thinking with proposing it was there's going to be, basically AI is a form of leverage, right? And think of leverage is I put 1 unit of effort in, and without leverage, I get maybe, if I'm lucky, 1 unit of output out. With AI, you can put 1 unit of effort in and get 100, 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 times the output because it can go and code and create things for you. So what we're going to start to see is this massive gap between people that are not using and leveraging artificial intelligence and those that are, because the level of productivity and output is just going to be genuinely a millionfold. Like that, it's going to be very hard to grasp the difference in capability of those two people. And being entrepreneurs, being founders, and being people that want to stay ahead and create and build the lives and the world that we want. It only made sense to me that we get on top of this now and we start learning it as soon as we can, because really there's no going back now. Like, it is fully integrated into society and it's only going to keep integrating. So why not get on top of it?
Would you rather eliminate fire or AI from your life going forward?
If I had to eliminate one of them,
It's just your life.
Gosh. So like eliminate fire.
You can never use fire again.
Gosh.
No spliffs.
I can do without that, but I'm just thinking of all the other things fire allows, like heat and warmth. I think as long as I stay in warm countries, I'd be okay. I think I'd probably eliminate fire, to be honest.
Don't tell the caveman.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, we've made it pretty much through the whole interview. We're just down to the last question now. What's the next chapter in your life look like for you?
Yeah. So I came into 2026 with this goal of creating stability and foundations. Like I touched on throughout the interview, these last 12 to 18 months have been very high frequency travel and just very turbulent in many ways. So I came into the year, the 3 months here in Bali, laying foundations for work and that future. And even surprisingly, a new relationship which came about in recent weeks. It's really all about foundation setting for me now. So stability, routine, business growth, client growth, relationship growth, all of those things are the focus. So is there anything you want me to dive into there?
No, it's just good to get a picture of what's in store. It's nice knowing that you're going to be always bouncing around and don't feel like you need to settle in any one place. But I can imagine after 19 countries in the last 12, 18 months or whatever, that stability would be something that's feeling like it's needed.
Yeah. It's something that I got to the point by the end of last year. I was like, I've had fun, but I just want to be able to like wake up in the morning and know what I'm having for breakfast and have it even like something simple of just having the same thing for breakfast each day. It just felt like this amazing thing that I could aspire to have. But yeah, stability, foundation setting, that's the near to medium term future. And then the result is going to be a lot of abundance and growth and compounding of those foundations. So very exciting future ahead for both of us. And looking forward to telling you about it in the next Mikey Talks interview.
Next episode, we'll hear all about it. But I'm excited to follow along anyway and see what you do. And I just want to say thank you for being such a positive influence in my life, and like genuinely from the moment we met last year, had such a big impact and have changed my life for the better. And I'm very grateful I got to spend another 10 days with you here, and already looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I think there was something beautiful about our friendship, in that I think it was so unexpected. And we met in Queenstown before the residency, and nobody else was there yet. So we just got to spend like an hour or two in Queenstown just like messing around. And we went to this like arcade retro games bar and just played video games together for like an hour and just had a ton of fun.
You set it up well.
Yeah, and do you know, I don't know if you remember this, but when we got to the house in New Zealand, we weren't actually meant to be sharing rooms, but the person I was sharing a room with was unwell, so I decided to move. And that's the reason we ended up sharing a room, and I think that definitely contributed to building as strong a relationship as we did.
100%. I was supposed to have a room by myself, and then you ended up joining. It was so much better. And thanks to the Crohn's disease, I guess.
Yeah.
That was your reason for getting in
my
room.
It was like, I'm on immunosuppressants, can't be around sick people. And I also really want to share with Mikey.
It worked out well.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you for doing
course.
the interview as well.
My pleasure.
Love you, bro.
Love you, dude. Oh, what a good connection on that deck.
That was good. Thank God we didn't have to retake that.
Yeah, good questions, dude.
Catan?
Little 1v1?
Yeah. Nice. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that was sick.